Hello, I'm Dr. Scott Watier.
And I'm Tommy Welling, and you're listening to the Fasting for Life podcast.
This podcast is about using fasting as a tool to regain your health, achieve ultimate wellness, and live the life you truly deserve.
Each episode is a short conversation on a single topic with immediate actionable steps. We cover everything from fat loss and health and wellness to the science of lifestyle design.
We started Fasting for Life because of how fasting has transformed our lives, and we hope to share the tools that we have learned along the way. Hey everyone, welcome to the Fasting for Life podcast. My name is Dr. Scott Watier, and I'm here, as always, with my good friend and colleague, Tommy Welling. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Hey, Scott, how are you?
Doing fantastic, my friend. Excited to be kicking off 2025 with massive momentum. So if you are new to the Fasting for Life podcast, welcome in. Thanks for giving us a listen. Couldn't be starting at a better time. Head back, listen to the last few episodes if you want to get some more stage setting and some foreshadowing for what we're going to be talking about in the month of January and beyond. We had some really great episodes we put together in 2025 to set the stage. In 2024, in December, to set the stage for 2025. And we just want to continue to bring you value each and every week. So welcome in. Thank you for listening. If you want to know more about our journey with fasting, head back to episode 1. We'll give you some insight into why we do what we do week in and week out, why we have the resources, the challenges coming up. Next one's on the 29th, why we have coaching, et cetera, and excited to be going into some of the listener questions today, things that are sent to us via email. I would say messenger, but that's not the best way to get in touch with us. Email definitely is. Some of the questions that come from our coaching clients or our challengers. And we're going to go over the big picture ones that we think that are, kind of encompass the fasting lifestyle overall from, let's say, a 30,000 foot view. And then we'll get into some nitty gritty details of specifics on some of the questions as well. So I want to give a shout out, Tommy, to one of the listeners, Pumpkin Dave. Thank you, Pumpkin Dave, for your 5-star review and learning about fasting. I love the hands-on approach. Who knew that by not eating could produce so many benefits for health? Keep the information coming, and thank you both.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. This is what we do. We talk about fasting 24/7, 365. On holidays, on birthdays, on days we're sick, on days we're flying high. Fasting for us has been just a life-changing thing, and we want to continue to share that with you, Tommy. So where do you want to start today in terms of listener questions? We got a handful that we want to get to here.
I think a good one going into towards the middle and later part of January would be one from Carolyn that says just getting back on track after the holiday frenzy. Because, just getting back into losing was trying to maintain during the holidays, she said. So, a little bit of perspective in January, I think, can kind of go a long way because, we oftentimes talk about New Year's resolutions and where should my focal points be going into the new year. And as we mentioned on a previous episode was, what we're focused on, what we're doing at the very beginning of the year tends to be what we're focused on at the end of the year as well. So that's really just a good idea, especially as we are kind of planning those focal points. So whether the holiday was, went great or not so great, or you felt a little off track, I think just having a little bit of perspective, zooming out a little bit and going, okay, maybe it wasn't perfect. Maybe even maintaining your progress during those, 1 to 2 months, maybe even up to 3 months of the year. I mean, if you're maintaining progress during the last quarter of the year, even if you have weight that you'd like to lose and you're in a good, solid fat loss phase the rest of the time, making relatively consistent progress most of the time, I mean, that's great. If you zoomed out and said, hey, this is how the year is going to look. Would you like to have this year? And then you contrast that with what could be just an up and down kind of volatile situation, or maybe even slowly ticking up over time. I mean, that's a great place to be. Of course, if you had been, humming right along in the summertime and then kind of come abruptly to a stop as the last quarter of the year kind of begins and we go into holiday season, I get it. It can be a bit frustrating. But if you look back pre-fasting, years in the past may have been a lot worse. And so having a little bit of perspective, and then even going back to like how were you doing in September and in October, and what does that look like? If you gained weight, how much did you really put on between now and then? Because it might not be as much as it feels like, just because you got a little bit off track. So having a little bit of perspective, I think, on it is step one. And then step two would be, okay, if I do need to quote unquote get back on track, how do I do that as quickly as possible? So being strategic and not just going for the next longest fast just right out of the gate, and setting yourself up for that instead would be a better way to go. So making a few better food choices, and taking a few days to kind of extend your fast over a few days, rather than just trying to quote unquote rip the band-aid off and then go right into a burn day and try to hit maybe a 30 or a 40 or a 50-hour fast as soon as you're trying to get back on track, would be better. It would be easier. You're more likely to have multiple successful fasts going in that way, and then make a few better food choices that are going to help that metabolic transition, getting back into a more ketosis state, lower blood sugar and higher ketones, more in a fat burning state. And so you're more likely to have consistent wins like that. So that's what I'm going to be an advocate of here, Carolyn, for you.
So for context, Carolyn's lost 80 pounds. This is the first holiday going into the holiday season and coming out of the holiday season in this new you skin, right?
Amazing.
80 pounds down.
Congrats.
Managed it, had massive success. So it's like, This is a new thing. So there's like this skill set that needs to be developed. Yes, fasting is the tool. Fasting is the thing you're going to use. But you've got to look at the compartmentalization, what I heard there, Tommy, of holiday eating, and how it's actually the habits, the 11 and a half other months out of the year, 10 and a half or 10 months out of the year, depending on when you say the holiday season starts. I think it starts Halloween and goes all the way through New Year. Sure. Maybe even a couple weeks after.
Well, for me, my birthday, mid-January. Yeah. So it's like Halloween through like mid-January is like when I feel like now the holiday season's kind of over.
So it's the compartmentalization of that. It's the enjoyment. It's the shift, the perspective shift there that needs to take place. And then, how do you, like you said, the timing and approach, like how do you reset as quickly as possible to get back on track, even though you need to give yourself some grace and say, it's not an on-off mentality, but it's like the quicker you can do that, the quicker you can gain the momentum, right? And really just like this idea of putting some bookends around what I was doing for maintenance just to enjoy the holidays and take some of the pressure and stress off, even though, again, this person has lost 80 pounds and has been massively successful. The fear of regain and the pressure never really goes away until it becomes your new identity.
Right.
And this is what we talk a lot about, is that, you can look at the research from Marie Spreckley and her team back in the day, and it clearly shows that, yes, exercise and movement and some form of restriction and tracking and all of that mindset stuff matters. But this idea that you are a new person with a new identity around the decisions and habits you make, that's not just during the holidays. That's year round, right? So it's a continuum type approach, a long-term strategy, right? So you book your wins, you focus on the positive, and then you say, all right, here we are. This is my plan moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then realizing that this wasn't a stop in your fasting journey or in your weight loss and health journey. It was just part of the ride. It was just part of the scenery. That's just what happened. And so then that puts less of the emotional burden and the guilt, shame kind of cycle that we can gravitate towards, especially with long-term attempts at fat loss. And so just zooming out from that, realizing it may have just been a little bit of a bump in the road, and that's fine. So take it as a learning opportunity. If you're going to repeat the holiday season. So if you fast forwarded, what would you do? Would you do anything a little bit differently? If the holiday season started again tomorrow, how would you go about it a little bit differently? And walk through that for a few minutes, because that's going to give you kind of a foundation of a plan that you're aiming towards when the next holiday season does come around.
Yep. It's perfect. That leads into the second question here from Elisa.
Mm-hmm.
And It's this idea of, so if we're talking about regaining the momentum, or you had kept momentum, right, coming out of the new year, or a holiday or any life, this can apply to any life event or any on-off event, right? Getting back on track, et cetera, compartmentalizing it, moving forward. How do you move forward? Well, you got to, take some baby steps, right? Just saying, I'm going to do a 7-day fast is not typical for most people just to be able to pull that off, nor does it give you the repetitions for long-term success. But the question from Elisa was, I'd like to be able to do a flame day or multiple day fast, but my longest fast to date is 27 hours. Is there a specific way of building up to these fasts? I haven't been able to do a whole day without food, and I usually start to feel lightheaded, hungry around the 23-hour mark, right?
Yep.
So how do you build up momentum? This also relates to a question that came in from Brenda via our contact us on our website, where she said, so I want to do both of these kind of in conjunction. Started doing low carb IF a few years ago and lost 20 pounds. Then life happened, right? This is what we're talking about here. And then gained 10 of it back. I'm starting to work on that now by doing OMAD. So similar to what Elisa is saying, doing this 24, 23 average mark, I kind of get a little fuzzy and then I end up really kind of stopping by 27. She says, similarly, I'm struggling a bit. I'll be successful one day and the next day I end up eating something late in the day and I have dinner. So it ends up being more like a 24 window, 24 hours of fasting, 4-hour window.
Okay. Yep.
Right. So anyway, her question is more around cold, but I want to highlight this first part of the figuring this out. Right. And this is why we have the blueprint to fasting for fat loss on our website. It's one of our main resources. In there is a schedule where you alternate 30 and 18-hour fasts. So you're still getting food every day, lunch to dinner or breakfast to lunch, right? And you're alternating. What this will allow you to do is still have some boundaries and restriction, but it will allow you to push through that physiological block where you're feeling the lightheaded, hungry, hangriness, which is the transition from sugar burner to fat burner, from blood sugar to ketone production. It's this transition, right? It's this, I guess I'll break my fast. You break your fast or you eat, and then you typically don't feel better about it or better about yourself or better after you eat. So it's kind of this sticking point in pushing your longer fast or breaking through that so-called plateau from a fasting time and or result perspective. So the 30-18 alternation is a way to really still have consistent nutrition on a day-to-day basis, but it also gives you some flexibility to get those longer fasting windows.
Yeah, I love that, because when you're talking about going into the 24-hour plus mark, oftentimes the hardest thing is breaking out of that OMAD dinner psychological, that mental rut, where it's just like, okay, I don't know what to do with myself during dinner time when I'm used to having it, and it compounds if you're used to having it with the family, or it's like a social time, or there's other connection points, and it's like it feels much more uncomfortable to say no to all of those things versus to to power through or to push through and see what things are like on the other side of that. So 1830 gives you the opportunity to do that, where you're going lunch to dinner, and there's some magic in there, because the average fast over the week is the same as doing essentially one meal OMAD, like OMAD lunch or OMAD dinner,
or that 24 window if you just average it out over the week, right?
But you get, like you said, you get that breakthrough point where some of those fasts are longer than 24 hours, and physiologically that's different. Blood sugar responds differently, insulin responds differently, and thus your body gets a chance to respond differently. So that's a really cool thing. So I would start there, and then after you do that a few times, you'll probably be feel more ready to do a full flame day, if that's what you want to do afterwards.
Yep, and it'll give you some reps to break through that physiological funky part, right?
Yeah.
With the not feeling 100%, take some salt, do some air squats, go for a walk, take a nap if you can, right? It'll help you push through that. Sure. But it'll give you that ability to get some repetitions, and then it's just another skill that you own, which I love. So great question, Elisa. And then also, Brenda, I know that wasn't your main question here, but we'll transition to the actual second part of her submission through the contact us, which is, I've noticed in the middle of the day, I mean, that was like, she even says, anyway, this is the question I have for you. So Brenda, thank you for allowing us to provide unwarranted or unasked for feedback, but it kind of aligned perfectly with this thing that we see a lot with folks who are trying to get past that or break through that plateau, so to speak. So as my wife would say, I wasn't asking. Well, whoops, told you anyway. So she says here, I have a question for you. I've noticed in the middle of the day, I get super cold. I walk around my house in numerous layers and just feel this chill down to my bones. Is that related to fasting? And should I be concerned? Yes, it's absolutely related to fasting. And, excuse me, it gets better.
Mm-hmm.
So I always use the example that before fasting and before removing my insulin resistance and before getting the weight off and getting my visceral fat down, not gone yet, but way down, we used to have to keep my house at 72 degrees. If it went to 73, I would get warm and flushed and uncomfortable. In clinic, seeing patients, it used to be 71 degrees. My staff would turn it up to 72. I would start to sweat. Like I could just feel it, right? At night, used to have to keep it like 65, 67.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And for me to not wake up warm or uncomfortable, right? Well, now the house can be at 74, 75, and I'm fine. If it ticks to 76, I'm like, oh, it's getting a little warm in here. And at night, I'm good, man. I'm good with 60, 69, 70, 68.
Wow,
like,
yeah.
I don't
Just
even
don't
need
sleep
now.
as hot.
Yeah, now in South Texas and humid Houston, that's great for the electric bill. So the reality is that your body will adapt physiologically. And there's four main things. So no, you don't need to be overly concerned, but there are things that you can do to help support. This is not uncommon. I know, Tommy, you have, with your hands and feet over the years, this is something that you deal with as well.
For sure.
In terms of temperature. But what's happening is four main things. Is you're getting fat adapted. So your liver is converting your stored fat to energy. And that's that fat adaptation process. So during that process, your body uses the blood flow from the fat tissue, that energy that's meant to keep your body warm, takes that and it converts the white fat, the fat around your hips and belly and vital organs, it converts that to energy. Thus, your body temperature drops, so you feel chilly. So it's actually a good thing.
It's a really good thing. It just, it's not as comfortable,
Yeah.
But it's a really good thing.
Yep. And some of the factors that might influence how long this fat adaptation takes place is age, menopausal history of carb consumption. Maybe if you've been doing 800 to 1,200 calories for years trying to lose the weight, then you will experience these symptoms longer.
Sure.
Another one is you're just going to have a lack of heat from digestion. So 6 to 8 hours post eating, you have this thermic effective food. It's called TEF, right? And your body temperature increases to burn off the food. Protein as the highest thermal effective food, which is why we say prioritize protein.
Yeah.
So your body just cools down. So you just notice the fact, you're like, oh yeah, you ever have a big meal and go to bed, you sleep hot.
Sure. Your body's doing stuff. It revved up the machinery.
Alcohol, you get flushed, you get that warmth feeling, right? You're actually not warmer. It's like, it's false advertising. And then the third thing is the redirected blood flow. So what's going to happen here is your body's going to redirect the blood flow to your brown fat to produce heat. So you can temporarily kind of feel cold as the blood flow that normally keeps your hands and feet warm is redirected to that brown adipose tissue. So this is, again, not lasting. It typically will warm back up as your body adapts. The fourth category is going to be nutrients. So what will happen with vitamins and minerals, they're essential for body heat regulation. So many nutrients are stockpiled in your fat tissue, especially the fat-soluble vitamins. So as you start to burn body fat through fasting, you're going to lose some of those stored nutrients. So this can increase your nutrient requirements. And then you're going to lose the water weight, which is also going to flush out the water-soluble vitamins. So this is why we say mineral supplementation like a multivitamin, like minerals in replace of a multivitamin. Like get your
Hmm.
minerals in healthy
Yeah.
salts,
Trace
Redmond's,
minerals.
yeah, Himalayan salt, Celtic sea salts, Baja Golds, flaky salts, Maldens, all of those types of things.
Hmm.
And it's also going to help to support your thyroid. So things like iodine, selenium, zinc, Brazil nuts, those are all things you can do to help support the thyroid in that nutrient category of why you may be feeling cold.
Hmm.
Couple of additionals might be like B vitamins, chromium, which is chromium deficiency is uh, uh, directly related to insulin resistance.
Mm.
And then obviously things like low iron or anemia, but you would know that from being on your blood work. So typically we don't have this deficiency issue. We just need some additional nutrients and minerals. And then your body is converting and diverting the blood flow to the areas that it should be.
Mhm.
And it does absolutely get better.
Yeah, and as you focus on good food choices, you make one good food choice after another, and you stack those up during your nutritional opportunities when you do break your fast. Then focus on protein prioritization, like you already mentioned, and then mineral and nutrient density within your foods too. So as you make good and better food choices most of the time, it tends to help even out those feelings of like temperature fluctuation because
Yep.
we're getting good input of vitamins and minerals that, like you said, Scott, you can't always store all of those. And then especially when you're burning through fat and you're going longer periods of time without bringing in nutrition, then not everything is there readily available all the time to properly regulate temperature. So look at those nutrition opportunities as just that, opportunities for good
Yep.
nutrition.
Yep, absolutely. So replenishing nutrients, nutritional yeast, that is a good thing for B vitamins. We talked about the mineral salts. Increase your fat intake, avocados, cottage cheese, whole eggs, fatty fish, fattier cuts of meats. That's all great for fat intake. Move, enjoy a hot beverage, wear warm clothing, hot showers, baths. You can add in some spice. So clove, black pepper. What's the thing that pepper flakes? No, there's something else that you put in like those little immune ginger shots. Cayenne, right?
Mhm.
All those different types of things can help. You get to turn down the AC or turn up the heat. So either way, maybe you'll be saving some money or I don't know, staying
Yeah.
warm. I'm not sure,
But
but
you think about it this way too. Everyone around you, their metabolic rate is doing something that yours used to do more often too. So it's not uncommon to feel like you're kind of swimming upstream a little bit.
yeah,
You
everything
know,
here in Texas inside is freezing.
it's
I'm
free.
bringing jackets to places like this
Oh
is
man.
unheard of.
Right, 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 right. So it's okay to like bring a sweater, bring a jacket with you, keep one in the car or at your office, even if the other people around you don't. Well, they're fueling up more often with more
Yep.
having a bigger thermic effect of food more often. That's okay. And while that may be a little bit more comfortable, in the moment, it's not more desirable long term.
Yep.
So just be encouraged that you're doing good things here.
Oh, I just run hot. Well, running hot is a sign of insulin resistance.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's actually good that this is happening. So Brenda, hopefully that's helpful.
Run cooler. Right.
Great question. Keep rocking
Keep doing it.
and give us an update in the future. All right, we got a question that came in from Troy. We got two left
Mhm.
here, Tommy, I believe. One from Shane after this.
Okay.
Um, Currently binging the podcast, and you two have a knack for telling me exactly what I need to hear just at the right moment.
Love
So
that.
thank you for
All
that.
right. Hopefully we keep it up.
Right. I haven't heard two things. We must not have been listening. No, I'm just kidding. It's just really an appealing piece of fiction. Is it just really an appealing piece of fiction that autophagy will take care of saggy skin wrinkles?
Ooh.
51-year-old female here, hoping it's true. And
Mhm.
two, if a protein shake gives me 30 grams but is not real food, what would you do? I really struggle to get protein up to 100 grams, and I have prioritized real food. Maybe you have a product recommendation. So let's answer that first one first. Using a protein shake, there's nothing bad about it. I would add in things like healthy fats, avocados, MCT oil, fruits, berries, fiber, chia seeds,
Mhm.
things that will help like a full kind of protein paste meal rather than just a protein shake, so you can help the blood sugar response.
Sure,
But
yeah.
there's nothing wrong with a protein shake. Now, protein shakes do have a lot of excess refined processed crap in them. So I like the Designs for Health brand. We can drop a link in the show notes.
Hmm.
It's a beef based. There's collagen proteins. They don't have the same effect for protein for muscle growth, but they do
Hmm.
have a great effect for skin and wrinkles.
Hmm.
So adding in a collagen supplement would be great for you too. My wife puts it in her coffee. We put it in our kids' pancakes the gluten-free homemade pancakes we make. We put it in our oatmeal,
Nice.
the steel cut oats we use. So you're getting extra protein in, right? Things
Hmm.
like cottage cheese, full fat Greek yogurt.
That means
Adding
all your meals end up more satiating and
yeah,
with a better metabolic response as well.
yep. Adding in a few bone broth proteins are great. Adding in a
Hmm.
few eggs to every meal is another way. Half an avocado to your meals.
Yeah.
Using healthy oils, all good ways. Um, I just kind of put fats and proteins together there. My mind was going off on a tangent in terms of whole food recommendations.
Sure. Helps to
Um,
stabilize blood sugar and insulin, though, across time as well, like with each of
yeah,
these nutrition opportunities, which is great. It's great for skin. It's great for autophagy. It's great for overall health.
yeah. Adding 3 eggs to a meal. I mean, that's 18 grams of protein right there.
Hmm.
Cottage cheese, huge hack. I mean,
Yeah.
huge hack. Now stay away from like the nut butters because those aren't really protein. They're
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
fat.
Yeah.
That's where I was going with my
But
previous
a,
thought.
a
But
cup of cottage cheese, with each meal is a great supplement, right
yep,
there.
I'm not a big fan of cottage cheese, so I do the Greek yogurt, and
Okay.
then I stir in either collagen or a protein powder with
Nice.
some
Yeah.
berries, a little drizzle of honey, man. Whoo, good stuff.
Good. Good stuff, man.
So let's talk
So
about autophagy.
yeah, autophagy is a good one too. So I'm gonna encourage everybody that as you get your metabolic health more balanced and make improvements there by making a better food choice or better food choices over time, more consistent fasting, and getting your number of fasting hours up each week, you're making improvements that lead to better and more efficient autophagy. So autophagy is not like I don't like to think about it as the holy grail or some pie in the sky that's going to fix all things. But at the same
Yeah, it's
time,
not a magic button,
right, right.
but it's pretty
So
powerful.
yes, for sure. And the things that happen during autophagy, like stem cell reproduction, like intestinal stem cell growth, that doesn't have a chance to actually happen when food is just coming in on a
Yep.
constant basis, right?
Hmm.
So that can't happen when you have the physical manipulation of the cells that's happening when you're bringing in food all the time. So you need increased time, spanned out between nutrition opportunities for that to actually take place. Um, those things can't happen as efficiently without good, consistent fasting. But then as your body balances, as your blood work gets into better ranges, as you take off some of the excess pressure on the system, if you will, from those excess overfilled fat stores, autophagy gets easier to tap into and it happens more effectively and efficiently faster. Okay, so that's the good thing. The other thing is as I'm sure you've heard, the skin is the largest organ. So don't think about it as like a static thing. It's a dynamic
It's a
process,
living, breathing thing.
absolutely 100%. Much,
Yep.
much like your bones are too. We think about our skeleton as like static, but it's not. It's constantly recomposing all the time. So is our skin structure. So while I don't like to look at autophagy as the holy grail of anything, I will say that as you get in a better state of physiological health, your skin has the ability to do things that it couldn't do when you were in a less optimal state of health. And so that's a really good thing. Also, as you're going through a fat loss phase, if you're continuing to focus on resistance training and you're getting stronger and you're stimulating your soft tissues, your muscles, your tendons, you are likely to fill some of that volume with good musculature, good muscle volume that you weren't necessarily before. So if you haven't been focusing on resistance training, definitely do that. And if you have been, continue to do it and continue to do it in a way that focuses on incremental growth and incremental strength gains over time, and that's likely to help kind of maximize the effectiveness of the physical stimulation of your skin and your underlying supportive skin structures.
So when we look at skin health, we want to look at, you know, with autophagy and collagen, and some studies suggest that fasting may stimulate collagen production, right, which is crucial for skin elasticity and firmness. And then fasting reduces inflammation, which also might contribute and may contribute to premature skin aging. So the reason why skin wrinkles and sagging happen, especially if you have a significant amount of weight loss. Now, if you're talking 100-pound weight loss with skin, you're possibly going to have potentially look into having some form of aesthetic reconstruction surgery, skin removal, etc.
Sure.
That's not what we're talking about here. But I mean, if you've got a substantial amount of weight to lose, then yeah. But I mean, look at a less drastic example. The reason why skin wrinkles and sagging happen is a loss of collagen and elastin, decreased skin cell turnover, the health of the skin that Tommy was just talking about, accumulation of advanced glycation end products, these ages, and oxidative stress and free radical damage. So how do we minimize that? Well, fasting, obviously, hydration, right? You want to hydrate properly. Nutrient-rich, dense foods, antioxidants, vitamin C, E, omega fatty acids.
Sure.
You want to get healthy sun exposure, right? You actually want to naturally support your melatonin production. So in my opinion, that does not say lathering up in, high chemical laden sunscreens, but using more natural alternatives or being in the sun for a safe amount of time without burning. There's retinoids, there's vitamin C serums, there's hyaluronic acid, there's facial exercises, sleep optimization, stress management. And this is a big one that is, and my wife's a huge proponent of this, is natural skincare. So you can go to a website called EWG, the Environmental Working Group, and they have a skincare app where you can look at different natural skincare products that are backed by research. So a lot of the stuff that we're putting on our skin, men included, in terms of our, laundry detergents, deodorants, creams, lotions, makeup, all of that stuff has a lot of stuff in it that could be contributing to the wrinkles and the sagging skin.
Sure.
So we want to promote the healing internally, but we also need to look at the external in this case, in my opinion. So EWG is a great resource for that. So collagen, exercise, hydration, fasting, you're putting together a pretty powerful, potent potential equation for the best possible outcome.
Wow. I want to add one thing, if you don't mind, which is the question about, should I lose the weight quickly or should I lose the weight more slowly to allow more time for skin adaptation? And so I'm a big proponent of the excess overfilled fat stores are causing a lot of the problems physiologically. And if we can shrink those
Chronic
down,
inflammation, oxidation, ages, all that stuff that we just mentioned.
Yeah. If we can optimize those fat stores faster, that's going to be better, because the longer we're trying to be in a fat loss phase and we're trying to get the weight off, the longer we may be nutrient deprived and not even really know it. So without having the optimal nutrient intake for proper skin growth and repair and all of these mechanisms, if we're drawing this out in a long, drawn out, low and slow, eat less, move more, what we tend to do is we tend to be under consuming and potentially over fasting, or under consuming and not really fasting. So under consuming and over producing insulin, which is our worst case scenario, metabolically speaking. And if we're doing that, then we have high insulin, but we have low nutrient density, low caloric availability, and then we have depleting minerals and nutrients over time. And so that's bad. We can't get into good healing autophagy states when we're malnourished. And we also can't have optimal skin care and skin function from the inside out if we're in that state too. So let's get the weight off that's putting a drag on the system. The system will figure out the best way to kind of, reorganize skin structure over time. That's gonna take some time, and we talked about a few factors there. But let's not drag out the process, right?
Yeah, because it's never going to be a better time than now.
100%.
100%. Yep. So, shameless plug for never a better time than now. We got a challenge coming up on the 29th. So just over a week away. So I'm going to encourage you, if you're looking for more support, answers to questions just like this, you want to go through a 7-day deep dive. Average weight loss of our last challenge was just over 7 pounds. Just an incredible, during the holidays, mind you. So if they can do it, you can do it too. If you're looking for more support, head to the show notes, click the links for one of our resources, reach out via info@thefastingforlife.com. Happy fasting, Tommy. Appreciate the conversation as always, sir. And we will talk soon and see you on the next episode.
Thank you. Bye. So you've heard today's episode and you may be wondering, where do I start? Head on over to thefastingforlife.com and sign up for our newsletter, where you'll receive fasting tips and strategies to maximize results and fit fasting into your day-to-day life.
While you're there, download your free Fast Start guide to get started today. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review, and we'll be back next week with another episode of Fasting for Life.